Hello y'all and welcome back. So in the last video I broke down this trichotomy that the Stoics have of good, bad, and indifferent, and I spent the whole time really talking about how everything we see as good and bad is in fact indifferent. And at the risk of belaboring the point, just to kind of make it once more, if I look at the things in my life that I value the most, that make me happiest, that add most value and joy and benefit to my life, it is extremely difficult, bordering on impossible, for me to name one of those things that did not come about directly because of something that I initially saw as bad. That I initially thought, or at some period while I was going through it, thought this is like horrible, horrible situation. And yet down the road, those circumstances have led to me having the things that I value and love and make my life good. Okay? Because you don't know, don't call them good or bad, call them all neutral. Now, does this mean that everything is neutral? No. For the Stoics, there is one true good, and that is virtue. They focus, as all the ancients focus, on the core four virtues of justice, courage, self-control, and wisdom. But the list can be extended substantially, right? The list of virtues is possibly indefinitely long. By contrast, the only true bad is vice, cowardice, self-indulgence, foolishness, bigotry, racism. Again, the list is quite long. Those are the only true good and the only true bad in life. Now, so we have this trichotomy, right? Good, virtue, everything else neutral right in the middle, and then bad, vice. And again, the things that are neutral because they can be put to good or bad use. You don't know how they're going to turn out. And here we come kind of to the crux of Stoic philosophy, because we present this breakdown, and 100% of people say, yeah, I get it. You know, those things are neutral either way. Good to be a good person, bad to be a bad person. That makes sense. And the Stoic response is, you say that, but you really don't get it. Because as soon as this is over, as soon as you turn off this lecture and you go to your next thing, right? As soon as I stop recording and I walk out the door of my office, the instant that one of these neutrals, which you and I acknowledge is neutral, the instant that one of these neutrals comes our way, we will immediately respond as if a good or a bad thing has happened. That is how we will treat it. If I go out to my car and I see a ding in the car door because some bozo dinged my car door, I will respond as if something bad has happened. If you get a good grade on a test, you'll get excited and hyped up. If you come into some money, you'll get excited and hyped up. Why are you responding as if a bad or a good thing has happened, say the Stoics, if you just acknowledge that these are not actually good or bad? These are in fact neutral. You do not know the downstream consequences of these. So there's a divide between what we acknowledge at a philosophical level, according to the Stoics, and how we respond in our everyday life. And the Stoics say this shows that you are not mentally trained to the level that you need to be. What is the telltale sign that you really don't get it? That there's this divide between what you know to be true and how you act? Your emotions. And this is a common thread with all Hellenistic philosophy, and perhaps, depending on your analysis, with all ancient philosophy whatever, right? Which is that we tend to think of emotion as something involuntary. Something frightening happens and we get scared. It's not like something frightening happens and we say, how should I respond? I will respond with fear. We just, boom, right? Something good happens, we get hyped up. Something that makes us anxious happens, you get the idea. And ancient philosophy, but especially Hellenistic philosophy and especially Stoic philosophy, says emotion is a choice. Emotion is a choice. You choose your emotions. Now, this isn't the point that something happens and you deliberate about how to respond, but you choose how to structure and set up your mind such that when something happens, you respond in the appropriate way. And the point here, obviously, is you can train your mind to think about the things that happen to you in your life, right? These so-called goods and bads. You can train yourself to think about these in such a way that when they come into your life, you respond, as the Stoics say, the way nature intended. Occasionally, they'll say the way God intended, but the point is with neutrality. So through mental training, you can train your mind. Train your mind to what? Okay, to respond in the appropriate way. When I respond with an emotion, especially a strong emotion, I think very mild emotion like mild joy or mild disappointment is fine. But anything that pulls you around, that kind of yanks you around, that controls you, for the Stoics, that rests on, and in some very real sense, is a mistaken judgment. So you get a text back from a person that you wanted to get a text back from, and you get happy, you get excited. That is, for the Stoics, a judgment. And it is the judgment that that is a good thing. It's a good thing that I'm hearing from this person. But the line of thought that we started in the previous video and we're developing here makes clear that it is not a good thing. It could be good, right? But it could also lead to just some disastrous consequences. The only way to keep from, being constantly perturbed, yanked around, up and down, they're texting me back, they're not texting me back, I'm getting money, I'm not getting money, right? Is to train yourself to think about this and everything else that happens to you in the proper way, namely with neutrality. Every emotion is a mistaken judgment that a good or bad has come into or left your life. Every emotion is a mistaken judgment that a good or bad has come into or left your life. The things that enter and leave your life are never good or bad. They are all neutral or indifferent. So a good Stoic, for this reason, has no emotion. Perhaps very mild emotion, because in the category of indifference, some are preferred, it's fine to prefer them, and some are dispreferred, it's fine to disprefer them. But actively pursuing them, letting them dictate how you think and feel, for the Stoics, that is yourself behaving like matter, fundamentally passive, allowing yourself to be shaped by the world and by circumstances, and you are mind. Mind is essentially active. Mind does. It is not done to. So, a good Stoic has no emotion. And the point here, of course, is that what is truly good in life, namely your character traits and good and desirable character traits, doesn't just enter and leave your life. Of course, our characters do change over time, but that's up to us. It's based on the choices that we make and the words we use and our thought patterns and the habits that we choose to develop. So the only real good in your life, according to the Stoics, is completely in your control. Similarly, the only bad is something that you can completely avoid. And other so-called good and bad things, right, that enter and leave your life, a little bit of thinking shows, are in fact neutrals. They're not good and bad. So the bottom line here is, because an emotion is always a mistaken judgment that a good or bad has entered or left your life, a good Stoic gets rid of it entirely. Again, very mild emotion, but big emotion, a good Stoic doesn't have it. Now, how you get there, the pattern of training that you use to get there, we're going to look at in the next video. So I'll see you then.